This is the White Coat Investor Podcast, Milestones to Millionaire, celebrating stories of success along the journey to financial freedom. Here is your host, Dr. Jim Dolly.
This is Milestones to Millionaire, episode number 3. Welcome back to this. I hope you guys are enjoying these new podcasts we're doing here. If you'd like to be on the show, if you've accomplished something and want to celebrate it with us, go ahead and go to whitecoatinvestor.com/milestones to apply to be a guest on this show. Possible things you could be on for: getting public service loan forgiveness, getting back to broke, paying off your student loans, paying off a mortgage, becoming a millionaire, becoming a decamillionaire, becoming financially independent. Anything where you've become financially successful and want to inspire others to do the same, go ahead and apply, and we'll see if we can get you on the show and share your story with our audience. Our sponsor for today's show is Bob Baiani at DrDisabilityQuotes.com, a truly independent organization. DrDisabilityQuotes.com was founded on the basic principle of providing unbiased and conflict-free disability planning solutions to physicians, residents, and fellows nationwide. They shop your business with every major insurance carrier to create a true own occupation policy at the best possible rates with all applicable discounting. If you need disability insurance, contact Bob at 973-771-9100 or info@drdisabilityquotes.com. All right, let's get our guest for the show on. All right, we're going to call our guest today Max. Welcome to the Milestones to Millionaire podcast, Max.
Thank you for having me. I never thought I would be on something like this, but I guess I qualify.
Well, thank you so much for volunteering. What's your specialty and how far are you out of training?
I am a radiologist, and I had to calculate this as well as calculating my net worth, and shockingly, I'm 20 years out of training.
Awesome.
But I continuously train, if you know what I mean. As a physician, we're always in training.
Well, thanks for what you do. What is your approximate net worth at this point?
My net worth is a little over 4.2 million.
Okay, and what's that divided up into?
I have a brokerage IRA account, which I originally started off with in my practice, which is about 90,000. Another brokerage account that is at 200 and so thousand. I have a fixed annuity, which is at 1.3. I have another IRA that's at about 500. And I have 2 homes. My primary residency is about 1.5, and my second home is about $1 million.
So a fair amount of your net worth in your residences, for sure, right?
Yeah, definitely, without a doubt.
Okay. What's been your?
I guess at about 2.5 in terms of residencies.
Okay. So what's been your range of income throughout your career?
Well, I started working when I was 14 years old. So when I get my Social Security statement, I filed taxes when I was 14. And my range of income has been anything between maybe $3,000 a year all the way up to about $600,000 a year.
And how long do you think it took you to become a millionaire? First time you hit $1 million from the time you left your training?
Right. I was about 40 years old. So that was about 8 years out of training.
Okay. And what are your secrets to success? How did you become so wealthy?
Well, I never tried to become wealthy. It was not my major objective. My major objective was to be the best physician I could possibly be. And I always thought that if you were really just great at what you did and worked hard, that the money would follow you. So my objective wasn't to become wealthy. My objective was to become successful as a physician. And I think a couple of things went into play that helped me become successful as a physician. First, I had really great training. I had really great teachers that invested a lot of time into me. And second, I remained flexible. I remained flexible in terms of mobility and I remained flexible in terms of my actual career. So when for example, I'm technically a neuroradiologist by training, but when I was asked to do breast MRI, I said, sure, I'll figure it out. And this helped me, I think, immensely to be flexible and to accept what was being asked of me as opposed to being dogmatic and saying, oh, no, I'm just doing this or that. Also, I think it's helped being flexible in terms of location. For the younger physicians, everybody wants to live in a specific area, but if you can be flexible, you can become indispensable.
You mean they have to keep you, they have to pay you well because there's nobody else in that area.
That's exactly correct. If you're willing to do what no one else is willing to do, then you do something that is invaluable to your practice. And then things can change. Things over time can change.
Yeah, so that certainly explains how you were able to maintain a solid income throughout your career, but it doesn't necessarily explain how you built wealth. At some point, you decided you weren't going to spend all that income, and you used some of it to at least buy some assets that were going to go up in value. What happened there? What was the mindset that led you to do that?
Right. Well, well, I, first off, I tried stocks and bonds, and opened my own brokerage account, and I studied them, and I learned how to sell and trade and what have you. But the truth is at the end of the day, I don't have the time to manage account like that, and I really don't fully understand some of the complexities about it. I remember I bought a U.S. Air stock, and I watched the U.S. Air stock just drop completely off the stock market, and it became zero. And I lost all my money in U.S. Air. And then about 6 months later, it reappeared, and I didn't recoup any of that money, but it was back on the stock market. So it was at that point that I realized that I wasn't so great with stocks and bonds and watching the stock market, and I was better with things that I could visualize. And so I knew I would need a home. I knew I liked living in a home, and so I did invest heavily in properties that were more, I guess, visual to me as opposed to conceptual. And I bought places that I liked. I bought places that I thought were really pretty and that I wanted to spend time at. And so that's that's how I wound up with having properties of value. And then I thought that recognizing that I really don't understand stocks and bonds, I really don't understand the stock market, and I certainly don't have enough time to watch it and hover over it. I put the rest of my money, or good portions of my money, into really safe investments like annuities, that I knew were fixed rate, that were well evaluated, and that I felt was safe with. And I went back to an axiom that was taught to me by, my grandparents, which was that no one will take care of your money as well as you will take care of your money. You cannot, you cannot expect someone else to take care of your money as well as you will. And so I've always been on top of my accounts, and have kept a close eye on them. And I use the one third, one third, one third rule, which is one third of my money I save. One third, no matter what I'm making, one third I save. One third I spend and enjoy, and one third I use for expenses. And so using that, and always paying myself first, I think that has helped accrue some wealth.
Now, is that after tax, those percentages you're talking about, or is that, or are the taxes one of those expenses?
No, that is after taxes. Taxes and adjustment expenses, but that's after taxes.
Okay. Do you remember about what your net worth was when you came out of your fellowship?
Yes, my net worth was a bottle of wine and a bicycle. I had a car, but it was stolen, and so it was literally a bottle of wine and a bicycle was
But
my
you,
net
but
worth.
you didn't have a big, huge medical school loan debt.
I did not have debt. I was fortunate that my parents agreed to pay for my medical school, and so I did not have debt, and I was on scholarship in college. But I certainly did not have assets.
Do you receive any inheritance or anything like that along the way, or is this basically all from your earnings?
No, I have not received an inheritance. It's all from my medical career. I have had no additional side jobs or what have you.
And how much debt do you have currently?
I have $300,000 in debt.
Is that one of the on one of the houses, a mortgage, or what is that?
That is a home equity line of credit. When we were having the mortgage crisis, there were home equity lines of credits that were being negotiated, and I negotiated a pretty large line of credit on one of my homes for prime minus a half. And so that is what's on a home equity line of credit.
What advice do you have for those who are a decade or two behind you? They're maybe just coming out of residency, or they're a few years out and they want to be where you are in 20 years. What advice do you have for them?
Well, for people who are in residency or coming out of residency, I think to be a wealthy physician, you have to be a successful physician. And so my biggest advice to them is to really get the medicine down, study hard, and become the best physician that you can possibly be. And I think no matter what field you go into, whether it is psychiatry or OBGYN, at the core, you should be a good IM doctor. You should get the medicine down. And the second thing, my advice would be is not to work for money. Work for the passion of medicine. Enjoy it, and the money will follow. If you're a good doctor, if you're a solid good doctor, and you're passionate, you'll have more money than you know what to do with. And then be smart about your investments. Do not think that you can triage it out to somebody else. It's just like your garden. You can just ask someone to be your gardener, but they're not going to do what you want them to do. So you have to manage your money just like you have to manage everything else. You have to take care of your own money. And to try to stay as flexible as possible. If you can stay flexible, I think you become more valuable. And things definitely change in medicine. They definitely change. And sometimes it's just holding on and not quitting. And then all of a sudden the practice does a 180 and it becomes more comfortable for you.
Awesome. Well, Max, thank you so much for coming on the White Coat Investor podcast, and
It's
congratulations on your
great to have you.
success.
It's great to
4.2
have you.
million, 20 years out of training. That's wonderful. And I wish you the best going forward.
The same to you guys. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Well, that was great to have Max on. It's interesting. From every one of these interviews, you can learn something different. There are many roads to Dublin. I think a lot of you may have been surprised when you heard about the mix of assets that Max had, right? 2.5 million of his 4.2 million is in his residences. And, and a good chunk of the rest is in an annuity. That's probably not the typical portfolio we see among white coat investors. But you can really see that there are more than one way to become wealthy. So what's the secret to his success? Well, he basically saved a third of his net income, which is 20 or 25% of your gross income. And the truth is, if you are willing to do that, you can do almost anything else you want with your investments and with your spending and still be a multimillionaire by mid-career. Our sponsor for this episode was Bob Baiani at drdisabilityquotes.com. That's drdisabilityquotes.com. They approach your desire to protect your earning capacity with care and compassion. From the onset, their approach is one of friendliness, guidance, and professionalism. From your initial quote request to case submission and underwriting, they will help you navigate the approval process and service all your future options and rights for your policy. Request a quote today at 973-771-9100 or info@drdisabilityquotes.com. Head up, shoulders back. You've got this and we can help. We'll see you next time on the Milestones to Millionaire podcast.
My dad, your host, Dr. Dolly, is a practicing emergency physician, blogger, author, and podcaster. He is not a licensed accountant, attorney, or financial advisor, so this podcast is for your entertainment and information only and should not be considered official, personalized financial advice.